Let's take you straight to where the DA is holding its federal Congress, where my colleague Nickolaus Bauer is standing by with Solly Msimanga, who's also the Tshwane mayor. Nick, a very fired up Msimanga talking about one issue that has continued to plague this particular political party, which is race. And he says that those that are hoping to bag positions of leadership must not be those that have been mobilizing against a united Democratic Alliance.
Indeed, Bongiwe, a very heartfelt address by DA leader Msimanga to the constituency that he has served for one term, hoping to continue now with the second. It's pretty obvious that it's going to be him, though, because he's contesting for that position of DA leader unopposed. And not only saying that those that haven't been given a chance to lean should be given a chance to do exactly that, but also underlining once more that the DA is the home for all South Africans, regardless of creed, gender or background, regardless if you're black, white, colored or Indian, or indeed any other race. The DA is the home for you. Now, to discuss this is not only the Tshwane Mayor, Solly Msimanga, but also a man that's hoping to become the new DA federal chairperson. Solly, thank you so much for joining us. Your initial thoughts on your leader's speech?
Well, I think that was a very heartfelt but very thoughtful speech by the leader. I'm very much invigorated after that speech. I do believe that that's what South Africans needed to hear. That's what people of the DA needed to hear. We are the first to admit that the DA has been going through a little bit of a rough patch in the last while.
How have you been going through a rough patch?
Well, I think the miscommunication that has been taking place within the organization, the Patricia de Lille issue, we have been mad, or we've been accused with the Helen Zille statements, Twitter statements that have all been now, been married to the DA, if you like. So all those things, needs to be put out there, and we now need to say, well, we're dealing with those issues. We're dealing with those issues. But as a party, the ultimate goal is to make sure that we get to 2019 and beyond as a successful, growing party.
Well, let's talk about that. You've got various amendments that have been proposed to your constitution, and the biggest talking point in the run-up to this conference has been the amendment around diversity. A lot of people interpreted that inside and outside the party as the DA flirting with quotas.
Well, look, I mean, I've written about this. I've said that, to me, when you're talking about diversity, you don't look at diversity in binary terms. You don't look at diversity in just black and white. There's a whole lot of things that go into how you discuss and how you formulate a policy around diversity. How do we incorporate religious beliefs of other people? How do we bring in sexual orientation of others into the discussion? How do you also bring in what do you call different backgrounds of people into this? So it can never be about black and white. It's more than that. But I think what has been happening internally has been more about jostling for positions, or who gets to be in, who gets to be out. And I think if we are serious about talking about the issue of diversity, we need to move ourselves away from it and say, it's not about Solly Msimanga being a black person, it's not about Athol Trolle being a white person, it's about how do we ensure that when South Africans look at us and when we look at ourselves, we feel that we are part of an inclusive organization.
Well, you say that it shouldn't all be about black and white, but it's very difficult for you to say that because the DA, to my mind, is the only party in the country that has such a thing as a white and a black caucus in various places across the country, from the National Assembly to councils to legislatures.
Well, I don't know. Give me a name of one of the black caucus members. If you can give me one of members of the black caucus, then, maybe we'll deal with it.
Well,
but here's the thing. I've never heard anybody asking the ANC about their diversity in their parliament, in the legislation.
But they don't trumpet their diversity like the DA does.
The top six, well, they're part of the constitution and they are part of making the constitution, isn't it? So shouldn't that be one of the things that you, as the media, should actually be asking them? Have you ever asked Julius Malema why there's not a single person?
Let me just stop there for a second, Mr. Msimanga. We're talking about the DA at the DA Congress, though, and I understand your frustration in perhaps the ANC or the EFF not being taken to task about their so-called diversity or lack thereof. But the fact of the matter is that the DA consistently trumpets the fact that it's the most diverse party in South Africa, and in the run-up to this Congress there has been a little bit of disquiet as to exactly how you guys put that in, I'm sorry to use the phrase, black and white on paper as amendments to your constitution.
But I'm sure you've seen on stage today You've seen that. What we are trying to do is to make sure that we reinforce that in how we also go into our selection panels. We reinforce that in terms of how we also attract the members. That's what I'm saying. We are the only organization in South Africa that has ever openly embraced the LGBT community, openly so, because we understand that they bring in diversity. We're the only organization that will stand for Muslims, as we will stand for Christians, as we will stand for atheists. Those are things that brings us together as a diverse group of people, to say what is bringing us together is a united democratic alliance that is aiming to ensure that going into the future we're able to deliver South Africa that every child born in this city or born in this country can be proud of. I think to us that is what we talk about when we talk about diversity.
All right, now as far as I understand, the DA has resolved on various issues like the diversity clause in terms of amendments to the Constitution. You've also resolved over that little spat about term limits. There was an attempt or a proposal to move term limits from 3 years to 5 years. I understand that that's now back to 3. And there's also been a accord reached on the National Management Committee, the body that essentially is the engine room of the DA. There was an attempt to try and ensure that it could be changed on an ad hoc basis. That has also been beaten down. Now, isn't this an indication that while the senior leadership of the party have resolved and agreed to what is going to be put forward now, there is a certain level of division there?
No, I think that's where you're getting it wrong. It's still going to go onto the Congress floor. What we resolved on is to the recommendations as a working committee that we are taking to the Congress floor, to say this is remember, if you are going to then take it as raw as it is, then you will never get to have a Congress that deliberates on all the issues in a short space of time that we do have. So what we have done is it has been debated in provinces, and the leadership of provinces have come together and said, look, this is what is coming from different provinces. So we are now going to be taken to the Congress floor what has somehow been agreed upon, to say these are now taking your views, these are now the proposed amendments to the Constitution, and also our policies are those that you are happy with, and if Congress is happy, then we adopt those.
Well, South Africans waiting with bated breath to see what the DA decides upon ahead of the 2019 general election, which is just over a year away. Let's talk about your candidacy now. I mean, Msimanga being re-elected unopposed as DA leader, the arguably second most powerful position in the party, the chairperson of the Federal Council, James Self, also being elected unopposed. Arguably the position you're up for, DA Federal Chairperson against Athol Trollip and Annelie Lutreet. Why are you the best candidate for that job in this 3-horse race?
Well, I think first of all, the track record that I have in the DA. I mean, over a decade ago, about 12, 13 years ago, when I joined the Democratic Alliance, I joined in as an official member of the party, or as an official working for the party, as a director in the party. So I've worked both in the administration and I've worked in the political side. I've led the city that we're in on the political sphere as a regional chairperson for 2 terms, and successfully doing so. The reason why we are now sitting in a municipality where the DA has more votes than the ANC is because of what we have put in place, the structures that we've put in place. But I've gone beyond that. I was also now the provincial chairperson, and now you know what we do in Gauteng. Gauteng now is in control of Johannesburg, is in control of Tshwane, is in control of Midvaal with the 2/3 majority. We have brought the ANC under 50% in Mogale. So because we have grown structures from the ground upwards, the organic growth, and this is something that I think that I'll be able to bring into the organization. But more importantly, I want to change the direction that we have been doing things slightly in the DA. The fact that we have been communicating and bashing the ANC all the time instead of talking about more of what we're doing in terms of what we are proposing, the policies that we're proposing. I think it's something that I would want to change. We should focus more on what we are doing. We should focus more on what we are promising the people of South Africa, because I think there is hope that people of South Africa are looking for, and we have seen it. People of South Africa are looking for hope. If you talk to people, they want to revisit the dream of 1994, where there was hope that we will all live a better life. And I think we can give the people of South Africa a better life, but we need to communicate that instead of focusing on just the bashing.
Right, that is a candidate for the DA Federal Chairperson position, Solly Msimanga. He's the current mayor in Tshwane. Voting getting underway at 6 a.m. tomorrow, with results coming out at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. a full day of coverage at the DA elective conference, though, with various deliberations on things like land reform, diversity, as we spoke about earlier, and also electoral strategy heading to the general elections in 2019. For now, back to you, Bongiwe.